This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence. Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. In this video, I'm going to be attempting to recreate a dress that I saw on Instagram. The dress is this number here by the brand Steel. What I really admire about the brand Steel is the fact that every collection of clothing they bring out is in really small quantities, so it's in no way a fast fashion brand. However, this means that some of their items of clothing are really tricky to get your hands on and they are definitely more on the pricey end. So instead, I'm going to be attempting to try and make a dress like this one for my wardrobe. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not a dress like this is worth the $300 price tag. So let's see if I can make a dress that's even half as beautiful as this stunning steel dress. So let's start by looking at this dress in a little bit more detail. The dress itself is called the Miller dress and it's on sale for $299 Australian, which works out to be about $220 USD. As you can see, the dress is made up of quite a lot of different shirring elements. It's got this shirred panel at the bust and then this really lovely three-tiered skirt. And the sleeves have this stunning shirred cuff as well, which creates a really lovely puffiness to the top of the sleeve. I've actually shared how to make these sleeves in last week's video, so I'll leave a link to that video down below so you can check it out. And they've used a black shirring elastic throughout this dress to kind of create a bit of a feature to the dress, which looks incredible. However, the fabric I'm using for my dress has this really lovely white lace detail throughout it. So I think I'm just going to stick to white shirring elastic to be able to match this detail of the fabric a little bit better. Because this dress features so many shirred details, it's basically been made up of just a bunch of rectangles, which means it's going to be a relatively easy dress to make. The only pattern pieces I'm going to be using are my Rosery Apparel pocket pattern, which I'll have a link to down below, and this statement sleeve template that I also shared in last week's videos. So to start with, I'm going to work on the shirred bust panel. So for this part of the dress, I'm going to start by measuring my bust pretty tightly and then cut out two rectangles that are my bust measurement by 60 centimeters or 23.5 inches. So here are the measurements I used for the first panel of the dress. I'm also going to use my pocket template to cut out 4 pocket pieces. Then take my pocket pieces and overlock or zigzag stitch the curved edge. This will help prevent the fabric from fraying. Take the pocket pieces and with right sides together, place them approximately 28 centimeters or 11 inches down from the top edge of your rectangles. Then stitch them in place. Once stitched in place, overlock or zigzag stitch along the raw edges to prevent them from fraying. Now with right sides together, place the two rectangles on top of each other, matching the pocket pieces together. Then stitch together along the sides, remembering to go around the pockets like this. And you should now have a tube of fabric with some side pockets. Give the pockets a good press and then hem the top edge of the rectangle by folding and pressing in by about 1 centimeter or half an inch twice. Then stitch the hem in place. Now it's time to start shirring the fabric. For this part, you're going to need some shirring elastic, which you should be able to find at most good fabric stores. Start by hand winding the shirring elastic onto your bobbin and then place it into your sewing machine like normal. Then you'll need to change the settings of your sewing machine slightly. For my sewing machine, I find changing the tension to 6 when it's usually 4 and the stitch length to 3.5 when it's usually 2.5 works best for me. I've shared a whole video on how to go about shirring, so if you're not sure how to get started, I definitely recommend you check that out, as each sewing machine is slightly different and your sewing machine settings may vary slightly to mine. So now just simply start stitching directly onto your fabric and you should find that the shirring elastic begins to gather up the fabric nicely. For this first row of stitching, I like to keep the presser foot of my sewing machine directly up against the top edge of the fabric to make sure that my shirring stitches are nice and straight. I then repeat this for the next row, however this time I line up my presser foot with the previous row of shirring stitches, as this not only keeps the shirring nice and straight, but it also keeps the spacing in between each row consistent. Don't stress out if your fabric isn't gathering straight away, as the fabric will start to gather more and more with every row of shirring you do. As I've mentioned in previous videos, shirring fabric is so easy, it's just very time consuming. So definitely make sure you've got a TV show on or you're listening to a podcast or something, because this part just unfortunately takes a while. Keep repeating the shirring process until you have a panel that measures approximately 20 centimeters or 8 inches long. A handy tip when shirring fabric is to use the steam of your iron to shrink the shirring elastic even further. I then give the shirring and the gathered up fabric a good press. And you should now have a nicely shirred bodice panel like this. Let's take a quick break to talk about the sponsor of this video. This video has been kindly sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and run your business. Whether you want to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio, or simply make any kind of website, Squarespace have so many templates to choose from, you're sure to be able to find one that's perfect for you and your needs. Once you've found a template you like, you can then customize it completely, from the overall layout of the website to the really fun details such as the font and color, to create a website that's perfect for you and your brand and is unlike any other website out there. What I really love about Squarespace is that they make it so easy and affordable to create a beautiful custom website. You don't have to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars upfront on a web designer, as you can make your website completely yourself. And when I sat down to create the Rosery Apparel website and online store back in 2016, I had my website finished and ready to launch within an afternoon, as Squarespace just make the whole process so stress-free and easy. So if you'd like to create a beautiful online presence of your own, then head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/roseryapparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So now we're going to start working on the next 2 tiers for the skirt. For the second tier, it's best to try and double the amount of fabric in the width of the first tier. So this means we're going to need 2 rectangles that are double your bust measurement by 40 centimeters or 15 3/4 inches. So here are the measurements I used for the second tier of my dress. With right sides together, I place the 2 rectangles of fabric on top of one another and stitch them together along the sides to create a nice big tube of fabric. Then taking a closer look at the pictures of the dress, the gathering of the different tiers is actually achieved by sharing, and the gathers actually act as quite a feature of the dress. So the way I'm going to go about achieving this look is to start by hemming the top edge of the fabric tube. Once hemmed, I then set up my sewing machine for shirring again, and then stitch 3 rows of shirring along this hemmed edge of the fabric. I found that 3 rows of shirring was enough to gather up the top edge of the second tier until it was approximately the same width as the first tier. I then attached the second tier to the first tier, making sure to keep the shirred gathering exposed on the outside of the dress. I have to be honest, this part was really tricky to achieve. Luckily, the fabric I'm using is gingham, so I found it was best to just line up the gathered edge of the second tier with a line of gingham from the first tier in order to pin the second tier evenly onto the first tier. Once pinned in place, I stitched the 2 tiers together. So now the second tier is nicely attached to the first tier with all the gathering and sharing exposed like this. So now for the third tier, we're going to repeat the exact same steps for the second tier, except this time we're going to have 3 rectangles that are double the bust measurement by 40 centimeters or 15 3/4 inches. This will work out to be not quite double the second tier, but I still felt that it was enough fabric to create the amount of gathering I wanted, but you can go double the second tier if you'd prefer a really big dramatic skirt. So with right sides together, simply stitch all of the rectangles together to create an even bigger tube of fabric. Then hem the top edge of the fabric. And then again stitch 3 rows of shirring to gather up the fabric until it is approximately the same size as the previous tier. I found that at this point I was working with so much fabric that I actually found it was easiest to quarter the tiers with pins and then match the pins of the third tier with the second tier in order to distribute the fabric evenly where these 2 tiers meet. And again, I used a line in the gingham as a guide to be able to pin the third tier onto the dress nice and evenly. I then stitched the third tier in place. Once all the tiers are stitched in place, I give them all a good press with my iron and then hem the bottom of the dress. And now it's time to make the sleeves. So like I said, I shared the whole making process of these amazing shirred cuff sleeves in last week's video, along with a free sleeve template that you can use to make these sleeves. Once the sleeves are made, it's time to attach them to the dress. So as you can see, the sleeves are attached to the shirred bodice panel of the dress in a way that kind of creates a square neckline. So to do this, attach the sleeves to the sides of the dress with right sides together and matching the underarm seam of the sleeve with the side seam of the dress. Pin approximately 20 centimeters or 8 inches of the sleeve to the bodice of the dress. Then stitch the sleeves in place. As you can see, the gathers on the sleeve act almost like straps, And once they're attached to the dress, it creates a really lovely square neckline. So how does it compare to the original steel dress? So I hope you enjoyed following along as I attempt to recreate this dress. I am so happy with how it turned out, and it was actually a lot of fun to try and figure out how to put this dress together just based off the images online. And I have to say, I genuinely think that this dress is worth the $300. I spent $60 on the materials for this dress alone. So I bought 5 meters of the fabric for $45, which was actually heavily discounted. And there's $15 worth of shirring elastic in this dress as well. And then the amount of effort and work and time that went into all the shirring details of this dress, hands down, make it worth the $300 price tag. I'm actually relieved that they do sell it for that much, because then you know that the workers that made the garment have been paid fairly. Because yeah, this dress is definitely not a quick make. I made it over many days and had lots of breaks in between, because it's not good for your back to be hunched over the sewing machine for that long. But I do think it was totally worth the effort, and I'm so pleased to have a dress as beautiful as this in my wardrobe, and I'm so excited to wear it all summer long. So yeah, I hope that this video has inspired you to have a go at maybe making some of the items you see on Instagram instead of just clicking through and purchasing them. And if you did enjoy this video, I would love it if you could give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more sewing type videos like this one. Have a lovely day, and thanks for watching.